Okay, so like I can see that's the one slide right there. Okay, so I'll just get it started and I'll just kind of wing it. But uh, just wanted to touch base on the Kansas City, um, what's going on in our city here. Everything has been um, really awesome. We've had tons of tremendous growth, and we're the Super Bowl champs. We've got a lot of things going on with the NFL draft. They also chose Kansas City as one of the host cities for the World Cup. So there's a lot of things going on with the sports environment, with the MLS soccer and the Royals, and so that stuff just brings more people in to our city, and it puts it more like on a world stage. So I think that's helped out tremendously. The reason I have this slide in here is it talks about the way my presentation is going to break down is kind of why Kansas City, and then about us, and then the process of buying the home. So this is just like why Kansas City. And so one thing that brings a lot of people to Kansas City is the colleges. And so there's about 200 schools that are within like a 75 to 100 mile radius of Kansas City. And I feel like that brings a lot of people in. That's how I came to Kansas City. I was born and raised in Hawaii. My wife was from Los Angeles, and we came to school out here in the Midwest. I played some football out in Iowa, and we moved to Kansas City for her nursing school, and we figured out how inexpensive it was to live here and how cheap it was to start. And when you're graduating college and you have a degree and your wife has a degree and you're making $100,000 a year, in Hawaii you're a renter, in California you're a renter, in Missouri you're a homeowner with a 401k and some life insurance. So it's a little bit different situation out here in Kansas City. So I know there's a lot of people that come to school out here, and there's a lot of people that the schools bring them to the Midwest, and then they end up staying out here. So that's a big way that people are coming into Kansas City. Nobody thinks about it, but there's tons of schools around here. If you just kind of do your diligence on that, you'll see what I mean. And then Lisa, you can slide it up a little bit, the next slide. Okay, so the top reasons people are investing in Kansas City, number one is low entry and high cash flow. So it's one of maybe 4 or 5 cities in the United States where you have a great economy, you got population growth, you got people moving here, but most importantly, you can buy properties in really good areas here for between $150,000 to $250,000. And most of my investors are making, maybe a 6 to 7% return off the rent after all their expenses are paid. So like your taxes, your insurance, your property management fee, your maintenance, they'll make a 6 to 7% return on the rent. And so, but being able to take position in $150,000 to $250,000 property, and these are A, B type neighborhoods that we're providing properties in. So the low entry to high cash flow is one reason. The appreciation. So this is something new for Kansas City, and I'll show you some slides later on. The appreciation of our market in the last 5 years has went up tremendously. It's due to people moving out here and taking positions in properties as homeowners and investors. But our market, I've been doing this for 22 years in Kansas City, and our market's always been like a 3 to 5% appreciation type market, maybe 6. But in the last 5 years, we've been north of 10, like 10's the minimum. Last year was 12 to 14, depending on what county you purchase the properties in, and I'll show you guys that later. So not only are you making maybe a 6% return on the monthly rent, you're getting a 10 to 15% annual bump on your appreciation and your equity. Let's talk about the rent. So the average monthly rent is around $1,350 to $1,400 in the areas that I'm providing property in. Probably between $1,300 to $1,600, $1,700. and the median household income in these areas about $90,000. And so our rent market is really strong here in Kansas City. We I'm doing a minimum of 5% rent increases a year, and on the annual lease, and nobody's balking or nobody's moving due to that. So maybe 5 to 10% is what we're increasing our leases annually right now. Um, the other reason.
Are your leases, are they a 12-month lease? Do you do 2-year leases?
Yeah, no, I've been doing. I was doing 12. I was doing 24-month leases, and I stopped doing them because the rents were going up so fast that when I was kind of locking myself and my people into leases that for 2 years, and I could get more rent. So I stopped doing the 2-year lease, and I was doing 2 3-year leases, and I stopped doing them. I just do 12-month leases now, and that way I can adjust every year depending on the market. And another good thing that Kansas City, it's a really landlord friendly state, right? So we don't have rent control. I can raise somebody's lease 100, I can raise it 200. So we don't have a limit on what we raise. I'm evicting people in 60 days. We don't have rent control. We don't have where we have people stuck in the homes for 6 8 months a year. So it's a real landlord friendly state when it comes to that. Another big reason people are buying homes in Kansas City is because of the network that we've created. So for 22 years, we've been, creating and managing these portfolios for ourselves and for our investors. So we're real active in the community. I feel like we're big enough to make some noise, but we're small enough to where me and my wife own all the companies and the businesses, and people have our cell phone numbers, and if they need access to us, they have access to us. And so what you're getting is you're tapping into a proven system, a proven network. I didn't get to where I'm at today by not hitting my numbers and not performing. And so people are coming into Kansas City. You don't have to find an attorney. You don't have to find, an HVAC guy. You don't have to find a property management company, a lender, a realtor. We have all that in place already. And I'll kind of go over that a little bit later. The fifth reason is population growth, economic growth, and employment growth. Kansas City, I feel like when it comes to the other competitive cities for me would be maybe an Indianapolis or a Memphis. They're just not even comparing when it comes to the population growth and the economic growth and the employment growth that's happening here in Kansas City. So just kind of do your guys' diligence on that, and we'll share these slides with you guys. Lisa has them. She'll put them up, and you guys can kind of take a look at some links and some stuff that I have in here as well. But we can slide up, Lisa, real quick. Yeah.
Just to be clear, we're talking about KC, Missouri for the most part, not the joint city.
Yeah, good question. So yeah, we're talking about Kansas City, Missouri. I don't even provide property in St. Louis. That's like 5 hours away. And I kind of stay away from Kansas. Little bit different laws over there. Not as landlord friendly, higher taxes. And so I'm in the metro, Kansas City metro area, maybe 20-30 minutes all around Kansas City is where I'm providing pretty much the portfolio and the assets. That's a good question. Another thing that Kansas City was in it's always listed in one of the top places for business. A big employment generator in Kansas City is medical. There's tons of hospitals, cancer research, UMKC. All the big colleges over here have big medical divisions, and so they provide a lot of like experimenting and testing and just huge, like the University of Kansas, and so there's a lot of stuff right here. Health Midwest is headquartered out here, so there's a lot of hospitals and a lot of that occupation when it comes to jobs, and so that's a really big thing for Kansas City. The economy is great. We've already got back 95% of our jobs that were lost in COVID, and so I think it was a 1.5% job growth, and it's above the national average when it comes to the employment. So if you don't have a job in Kansas City, it's because you don't want to work. There's a lot of employment out here. You can scroll up, Lisa. The one big new thing that's happening in Kansas City is all the big tech companies are coming out here, and Google just purchased the biggest land purchase here. They're putting I think it's like 55 million square feet, huge facility. It's going to take 10 years to build. It's a big data storage facility. It's right next to my church. It's up north in the Clay County area where we provide a lot of property. And they just bought, I forget how many acres. It's huge though. We drove around it, and it's so big. They're making their own concrete. They don't even buy concrete. They're making it in this development. But they're renting out space to Amazon and to Facebook. Facebook's also coming to Kansas City. Amazon's built one big facility. They're building another. And so one thing you got to remember about Kansas City is it's centrally located. You know, we're right in the Midwest, right in the middle of the United States. You have all your rail cars, your railroads all come through Kansas City. This is your distribution, transportation, manufacture hub. So places like Amazon, they're putting out big facilities here where they can handle your one-day express, your two-day shipping, your Amazon Prime, and they'll be able to hit all different places from Kansas City, which is right in the middle. So a lot of these, this is just why there's so many jobs and so many people moving to Kansas City. I feel like it's definitely been a really good kept secret for me for a long time. People are starting to figure it out, and a lot of people are moving here. I'll kind of talk about this a little bit later, but me and my wife own a real estate brokerage with 300 plus agents, kind of like a RE/MAX, like a full service real estate company. And so we get to see a whole bunch of contracts. I mean, in that business, we're maybe closing 150 homes a month. And so we do a pretty good volume, and we get to see the amount of people that are moving from places. And your big tech companies are moving too. And when the big boys come, like the Googles and the Amazon and the Cerner's headquarters out here, and Facebook, then the smaller companies also start coming, and they're leaving places like San Francisco and Seattle, where employment wages are high, property is high. You can't buy land, you can't build for the same cost that you can here in Kansas City. You can't hire people for the same cost that you can here in Kansas City. So think about that stuff when you guys are choosing a city on where to invest your dollars. You definitely want to be in some place that's exploding with economic growth and a population growth, and it's got a good employment economy. We can move up a little bit, Lisa, on the next one. I put this slide in here so that you guys could kind of read if you click on the slide, you can kind of read, it's like the predictions for the Kansas City market, kind of talks about how it's going to continue to go up. And then the other one is Zillow ranked it number 7 in one of the hottest markets for 2023. I won't spend too much time on that. When you guys get the slide deck, you guys can look at that. Here's the stats. This is something that I'll cover because this comes directly from our MLS. And so these are really good statistics. It's not like it's written by some newspaper or somebody that might have a biased opinion. I mean, it is what it is right here. This is coming straight out of our MLS. And Clay County, Missouri is where I live. It's where all my buildings are. It's where we provide a lot of our assets. Is really 2 counties. It's Clay County or Jackson County, Missouri. And I love this slide because it goes over the 2021 numbers, and then it goes to 2022 on the year to date, and you can kind of see the percentage. So, like everywhere else, our market was down 16% when it comes to sales. So we sold 16% less homes than we did in 2021. The good number here, though, is that you can see in Clay County is the average sale price is up 13%. So while they keep talking about on CNBC and all these plays about prices dropping and this and that, I don't think we're gonna experience that here. And the good thing about Kansas City is it's not like an LA or like a New York or maybe even a Florida where we don't experience the high ups and we don't experience the low lows. So it's kind of even keel out here where our property values aren't going up 20-30% a month or going crazy like the coast. And but we don't get the low lows either. But the reason I like this slide is it shows you in Clay County the values have went up 13.9% from from 2021, and it also shows you the pending sales are still down 18%. So there's a lot of opportunity in our market for us to purchase more homes. I never really have an issue with that, but we can kind of move up, Lisa, to the Jackson County. So Jackson County is south of the Missouri River. Okay, so this is like your cities like Independence, Raytown, Grandview, Lee Summit, Blue Springs. These are all areas that I provide homes in and that I also own properties in. And that area, the sales were down almost 13%, but even in those areas, the home prices were up 10%. And what skews the numbers in Jackson County is that's where the inner city is as well. So I think if you took the inner city numbers out of this equation for Jackson, it would probably look a little bit more like Clay County. But you do have that whole downtown Kansas City, the inners of Kansas City, where there's more poverty and just areas that we kind of stay out of, that we don't provide assets. And one thing you guys should probably know is, I buy everything with my cash. I remodel everything cash. And if I don't sell the properties within 90 to 120 days, I refinance them and I keep them. So I wouldn't buy anything that I wouldn't own. And we also own the property management company, and I wouldn't manage anything that I wouldn't, I don't want my ladies driving to, I don't want my showing agents having to be in rough areas or areas that are not safe. So we just kind of stay out of those inner city type areas. But yeah, you can scroll up, Lisa, to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're all good.
Matt, can I grab a couple questions out of the chat?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Ray is asking, is there data trailing 6 to 9 months? We have data here in Denver, so I'm curious what your, title companies can provide if possible.
Oh, you know what? I can get that info. I don't have it on me right now, but I can get that information and send it to you.
Okay, so just reach out to your investment counselor, just email us, and we'll get you connected with Pat for that info. I'm just jotting down a couple notes. And then someone had previously asked about the Google campus. Is it for research and development or another purpose? Do you know?
No, it's a research and development and a data storage. So I think it's a big, it's going to be a big data storage facility, and it's right up north. You can Google it, and you can see how big it is and how it's a 10-year project. It's so big. It's hard to believe, honestly, how big it is. And what they've done here. But that just goes to a testament of how much land there is here and how cheap things are here. And I feel like these guys, and Google found out about Kansas City maybe, 10 years ago. So I think Kansas City might be, I don't know how many cities out there have Google Fiber, but the whole city is fibered up with Google, and like cable, telephone, internet, So Google Fiber is kind of like a cable provider out here in Kansas City. So like my whole building, all my buildings have Google Fibers, like really fast internet, super cheap. And so I think they're just taking bigger positions out here with stuff. Is there any other questions, Sarah, or you want to?
No, you can go on. That was
Okay, let's scroll up a little bit. I'm now gonna. I feel like I kind of touched on the employment, the economy, our network. I'm gonna kind of go into that a little bit more, the area, and I'll kind of go over the cities again if you guys want me to. But let's talk about now, I guess, the systems and the companies that I own and what we use here in Kansas City. So the first company, if you slide up, Lisa, a little bit. So we provide a one-stop shop, full service system for the investor. We own multiple businesses to provide these services. So our first company is United Real Estate. This is just like a regular Remax or a Better Homes and Garden or whatever type real estate brokerage. We have over 300 agents in this company, and I'm one of the top salesmen in the company, in the country. If you look at United Real Estate, I think it's number 7 in the country in terms of agent volume. There's over 25,000 agents across the United States. There's a United in almost every state. There's probably one in where you guys live. And so I own the Kansas and Missouri franchises for United Real Estate. And it's just a buy and sell company. So just regular real estate services. This gives us access to MLS. It allows me to pull comps. It allows me to, for me and my customers, it allows me to write contracts, and it allows me to sell properties. I've got a lot of clients that's been buying homes for me for 20 years. And as the tenants move out, they're exiting. And so I use United Real Estate to handle all the buy and sell type transactions, all the foreclosure, REO, the auction inventory. We can scroll up a little bit, Lisa. That's just the real estate brokerage. Build It Back is our construction rehab arm. We have over 300 1099 contractors and crews in this company. This is the company that'll provide the scope of work, the itemized pricing for our investors, the weekly pictures, the inspections. This company for me has been around for over 20 years. I've had this company. And one thing that I've always done different is I've always done labor bids only. So I pay for all my own material, which is really important for new investors. And for if you're going to get bigger, this allows me to negotiate big contracts because if I hire somebody to do labor and material, I never can control my material costs. And so by doing this, like I know I'm gonna spend $350,000 in paint. That allows me to negotiate with Bayer and Sherwin-Williams, and I know I'm gonna spend $600,000 in furnace equipment and ACs. So now I can go negotiate with Goodman and Lennox, and so roofing shingles, just all this different material costs, so that I can get a better deal than a lot of my competitors who are just doing labor and material type bids. So I take pride in that, that we have that data and that history that, and a lot of these bigger companies, they know us. I mean, we have account executives, and we have people who want our business and who want our accounts and that take care of us. And if we have issues, they'll warranty things for us and do things for us that they might not necessarily do for somebody who just, goes into Home Depot and buys some stuff. This company does all my make-readies for when my tenants move out. They handle all my rehabs on the new foreclosure purchases that we buy. So this is the company that I kind of run all the maintenance, all the make-readies, and all the rehabs go through this company. And if you want to scroll up, Lisa, a little bit, property management is called KCCRM. It's KC Commercial and Residential Management. This company handles all the leasing, the reporting. We use a software called Appfolio. Most of you guys might have heard about it. It's a pretty big national platform that a lot of people use. I really love it because it's a one-stop shop for property management. I can screen my tenants, I can pull credit, all my annual reports, everything is in this software. There's a owner portal and there's a tenant portal, and so all my owners have access to their maintenance requests, their income and expense reports, their January through December statements. Everything is in this management company. We currently manage a little bit over 650 houses right now. We've been running this company for, again, another 20 years. We have a 97% occupancy rate with our property management. We're collecting, I'd say 96, 97% of our rents. So sometimes when I'm using, sometimes when I'm using like Jason Hartman's numbers, he uses like a higher vacancy rate. He might use a little bit different numbers. So the numbers will look a lot better than what the brochures say on the property tracker. But I love the fact that he's conservative with it. So just know that when you guys are looking at some of the numbers on property tracker, they're using a little bit higher vacancy rate, they're using a little higher maintenance rate. And so I have data on all this stuff. So all the numbers I'm giving you is like true and accurate numbers from our software and from managing these portfolios for so long. 96% of our leases are renewing. And another thing, I touched on it earlier, is Kansas City is a real landlord friendly state. So you have easy to evict, and you know, we don't have the rent control. That's the two biggest things. You can scroll up a little bit.
Pat, quick question in the chat. Scott is asking if he purchases one of your turnkey properties, can he self-manage it?
Yeah. So you can do anything you want. I just provide like a turnkey one-stop shop system. Now I have investors that manage their own property. Most of the people who manage their own property, they live in Kansas City. If you want to rehab it yourself, if you want to handle the make ready on your own, if you want to, you don't have to use my companies. You know, you can use whoever you want. I just make it real simple and real easy, and I take the guesswork out of. I had a guy today who wanted to hire his own inspector. The inspector was really expensive, and some of the properties in Kansas City, like certain cities, they have annual inspections. So I like using the inspectors who not only can inspect the house for me, but can provide me the annual inspection all in one. And so once I told him that, he was like, "Oh, okay, let me use Mike." So the city of Independence and like Blue Springs and Raytown, they've cleared like 3 or 4 inspectors that only the city will use these 3 or 4 inspectors to inspect the homes annually. And so I try to use the same people that the cities are using, so that not only can I get a homeowner inspection for you at purchase, I can also clear your annual inspection at the same time. So you don't have to use, you can use whoever you want. You don't have to use I say probably 95% of the people use, I know I do this every day, and we're selling 100 homes a year. So I know what lenders are giving the best rate. I know what banks to go to. I know the inspectors who are fast and quick. I know the appraisers. I mean, everything, title companies, everything you're gonna need, I have it. I don't want you guys going to reinventing the wheel and getting 5, 6 bids and doing all this stuff. It's just a big waste of time. You can just tap in to the system that we've already created and the network that we've already created. And if I'm using them, you better believe they're giving the best price. So like insurance is another one. People always going out using American Family and using all these places, and I got two guys that handle all the insurance. I own over 200 houses in Kansas City, and so they do my insurance. They'll do a good job for you too. And I shop this stuff every year. You know, I'm always looking for a good deal. I'm always looking for lower costs, just like any other investor would be. And so I feel like I do all this diligence for you guys. You guys might as well just tap in with what we're already doing. But Sarah, they can use whoever they want to use. They can self-manage. They can hire their own rehab crews. They can hire whoever they want. They can do that. This is just like a system or a template. They can do or use whoever they want.
And Pat, what are your management fees?
Okay, so the management fee is 10%. And then, you know, when you buy the turnkey asset from me, usually it's rented. And I'm starting to sell homes that aren't rented, and so we won't charge you a leasing fee on the purchase. But it's 10%, and then it's a 1 month leasing fee, or 1 month of rent is the leasing fee, which is the going rate in Kansas City. If you call management companies, you'll figure out everybody's doing 10%. And I know to some people that might sound like a lot, like especially if you're coming from California or New York, where you have $3,000-$4,000 rent. Hawaii, it's not like that over here. You know, I mean, you're talking, you know, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. So the 10% is kind of like the going rate, just like 6% is the going rate for selling a house out here. I'd say 99% of the agents are selling homes at 6 to 7%. 99% of the property management companies are going to be at about 10%. Is the management fee.
Hey Pat, going back to the question about the self-management, do you offer a la carte services? So if they wanted to use your leasing agent or something, do you offer anything like that for them?
No, I usually focus the people, like when it comes to that kind of stuff, like my crews. That's the hard part, right? Like everybody wants to manage on their own, but then they get stuck. Like my leasing agents are going to be focused on the properties that we're managing. They're not going to be focused on, I don't have them focused on doing all kinds of stuff for people. I have to keep everybody focused. I have a system, I have a process, and I'm going to keep my employees focused on my houses. People ask me that all the time, and then, you know, they want to do their own rehab, and then they don't have this person or that person. And sometimes I can help out, you know, on the rehab type stuff, but I don't have leasing. My leasing agents work for my management company, and they're focused. I mean, every month I've got 20, 30 homes moving out. I got to get those homes ready, and I got to get them re-rented. And so we're really kind of, and like my construction company, I don't ever sit here and finish basements. I don't rehab other people's homes. I don't do anything like that. Like all the business comes through the property management company. We're 100% focused on the portfolio and the management of the portfolio. So if they're gonna go manage on their own or whatever, they should think about that before they go and manage. Like they're gonna need a team, you know, or you can tie in with somebody who's giving you the team. And so that's stuff to think about when you know, you're making those decisions.
Right. Yeah. Use a property manager if you know, usually you can feel them out, see what it's like, and then maybe self-manage later on down the road.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, you need to take a sip of some water. Okay, but the next slide, okay, so this is one thing I'm really excited about. This is really new. So I started getting really upset about these high rates, and I was like, okay, I gotta fix this somehow. So I said, okay, I'm gonna just go get my NMLS, and I'm gonna start doing my own loans. And so I own a portion of a mortgage company, and what makes this really important,
Between lime and berry, which is.
I can hear like somebody talking.
Mute everybody, please.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what makes this, okay, so when the rate started going up to, you know, 7.5%, 8%, what happened is it cuts into people's cash flow. And so when you're selling a 7, 8.5, 8% interest rate, that's it's really a reflection of the mortgage, all mortgage guys, this is how they feed their family and this is how they make their money. And so for me, this is not how I make my money. I make my money selling houses, but it was real easy for me to get a mortgage license. And most mortgage people are gonna try to make, I'd say 3 to 4 points on a deal. And mortgage people make money by selling you a higher rate or charging you fees. That's the only two ways mortgage guys can make money. And so now that I control that, I can sell really low rates because I am not trying to make money doing the loan. I want to offer a better rate with a lower cost. And if the lower the rate is, the more cash flow my investor makes, the more houses they buy. And so for me, the money's in selling the home, not selling the loan. But if I have access to selling the loan, it allows me to sell better rates. So my customers have been loving this, and I've been able to get people 3/4 to a point lower on the mortgage rate because I'm not sitting here selling a higher rate or get them lower fees and getting them the same rate if they're trying to buy the rate down or they want a lower rate. However it structures up, but just know that the fact that I control that now is huge. I'm not referring somebody out to a third-party lender. And like I said, you can use any mortgage person you want, but one really beneficial thing, I would get the best deal you got, the best quote you got, and I promise I will smash that deal for the simple fact that I am not feeding my family off of this mortgage business. This is a complete pass-through company for me. And so I strictly did this to be able to drop the rate. And if I can get somebody a point in the rate, might be $50 to $75 in your cash flow. And so that's this is something new, and it's been working out.
Can you give me an example? I'll run a pro forma just to see what it looks like compared. And what's like if someone has a good credit score and.
So I mean, if you're looking, just look at the difference between maybe so the other day we had a guy come in and he got approved for 6 1/4, but he had to pay almost 2.5 points in origination fee on $150,000 property. So he's paying almost $5,000-6,000 for that rate. Maybe I can get him that rate, and he doesn't have to pay all those fees to get that rate. Or when you're looking at a point difference in an interest rate, you're looking at so you can look at maybe $150,000-200,000 loan and look at your rate from say a 6% to a 7.5%, or a 6 1/4 to a 7.5%. Most of the investors are playing in that range. Most of the loans are coming out in that range for me right now. It's like a 6 to a 7.5 range, and it just depends on, like I said, their credit, their debt to income ratio. But I'd say 95% of my investors are really strong borrowers. Like they got good credit, they've got assets, they've got good collateral, they've got good, they got cash, and so they're well qualified borrowers. So getting them approved is easy. And I'm already talking to the customer. I'm already talking to you about your contract. I already know, a lot of information. So for me to have them fill out a loan application and collect their documents and send it off to my company, and then they provide all the underwriting is all in-house, everything's in Kansas City. So it's real fast. I mean, we're closing the deals in 30 days. It's super fast. But you can kind of do the numbers on that, the difference between a payment from maybe a 6 1/4 to a 7.5 I'd say the low end for me is going to be about 150 grand. I'd say the mid range is maybe about 185 to 200,000, and you'll see a difference in the payment and a difference in the cash flow. But what's hard to kind of, I guess, show real quick, Kathy, is the fees that they're paying to get these lower rates. And so just being able to control that cost has been really good for the client. I don't think we've lost a deal yet. I'm encouraging the client, like, hey, talk to your lender. They already, a lot of people are coming to me, they have relationships. and they have lenders and they have people. I'm like, hey, get the best deal you can, and let's see what happens. And so,
Let's take this. There's a few questions about your financing, so I'll
Okay.
just quickly knock these out. Are you a broker or a mortgage banker?
no, it's definitely a broker situation. So I'm using a company called Nexa. You can look them up. Big national brand. There's over 100 different lenders, but I got 5 main lenders that I'm using, and I'm just kind of running all the loans through the 5 lenders. And the one that I'm using the most is local lender here.
And they're conventional loans or
Yeah.
non-conventional?
Yeah, so all conventional. These are all Fannie Mae products. You know, you're putting 25% down, depending on, you know, the borrower and the credit. Just all backed by Fannie Mae. You can do 10 loans per borrower. We're exercising a lot of strategies with some people where we're trying to get them approved separate. So like, you know, me and my wife never finance on the same paper. You know, like she'll have 10 homes, I'll have 10 homes. So I try and keep it to where like a husband and wife, if they can, you know, and their debt to income allows it, they finance separate, and that allows you to get 10 Fannie Mae loans. Because once you've exhausted Fannie Mae, now you got to go to commercial finance, and commercial finance you might get a 5-year fix. They amortize over 15 to 20, maybe 25, and so your terms are worse, your rates are worse, your term is lower, so your payment's higher. So the more loans you can get on a 30-year fix at a low rate, I mean, even at 6.5 right now is that's a low rate. And so that's kind of where the loans that we're closing. I do have access to another big type of buyer I have is maybe that 401k self-directed type buyer, and those I have banks that are doing those. They're putting down more like, I'd say 40%, 35-40%. They're non-recourse type loans, and so we do have you know, access to those banks as well.
Just to clarify for everybody, because there's a lot of questions around conventional versus non-QF, which is non-qualified mortgage. And we've got all levels of investors here, so I'll just break it down. If you're new to investing and you don't have any finance properties, you can finance up to 10 properties in your name with a conventional loan. And if you're married, you could potentially do, 10 and a wife, 10 and a husband. That'll get you up to 20 loans. Potentially, there are qualifying factors. But in addition to that, if you're going beyond those 10 loans, there are several lenders we can refer you to that will do the non-conventional financing, or DSCR loans, which is debt service coverage ratio loans. There are 30-year fixed products out there now for the DSCR loans, but they'll come at a higher rate.
Yeah.
So what Pat is offering with his own in-house financing is just for that first 10 properties. So if you can't qualify conventionally, then we can provide you with an alternative, like a commercial lender, to get you beyond those 10 properties.
Yeah, and I have small local banks here that are financing the out-of-town investor as well. You got to be strong. You got to have good credit. I have tons of investors who own 40, 50 properties. They cannot get approved conventional, but those, you're still looking at a 75% LTV. You're looking at a little bit different. You might be looking at prime plus a half, maybe prime minus a half, depending how you negotiate your deals. And they're charging maybe, I'd say, 1/4 to a half point on the origination fee. So this is kind of the financing that I'm doing for my clients. Is mostly conventional because a lot of my investors coming in don't have the volume of properties. But for me personally, I have to go non-conventional, and so I know those areas and those banks really well. I know the terms really well. So when I'm financing, I'm doing 20 to 30 homes at a time, and I'm refinancing, and I do a lot of line of credit type strategies on my personal stuff and all my buildings, and I kind of stay away from the compound interest probably a whole nother seminar and a whole nother talk we're kind of getting into right now, but just kind of next level type finance. But this is how I paid off a bunch of my portfolios and a bunch of my properties really fast, is by using simple interest line of credit and not compound interest mortgage. And just, but I can talk to you guys separately on that kind of stuff. And probably,
Yeah, we'll connect you to those that are interested.
yeah,
No problem.
yeah. Okay, so I think we're almost done here. The last slide, I talked about the area, the economy, the employment. I kind of talked about our systems, our process, one-stop shop, full service for the investor, 20 years of history in doing the portfolio creation and management. And I just kind of I threw this slide in, just the process, how easy it is. So like 10 steps, have your investment property closed in 30 days. A lot of my investors all over the country, they're going to patgrace.com. There's an inventory tab. For Jason Hartman, he has the property tracker. You guys can go on your property tracker and pull up your properties there. But really, you pick a property. I turn you over to Tiffany, who's been my paperwork. She's my transaction manager for over 10 years. She'll take you all the way to close, from the contracts all the way to close. And it's online signatures. We give you a one-page buyer's roadmap, and on the buyer's roadmap, it has the title company information. It has the link to send your earnest money. It has the 2 homeowner inspectors. It has my 2 insurance agents. It has everything on that sheet. So if you just follow step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, you'll be done with the process. And it's usually taking us 30 days to get the loans done, appraised, inspections done, everything's done, and then we'll send a mobile notary out to wherever you are. If you want to close at your office, if you need to close at your office and your wife needs to close at her office, we set everything up on mobile notary. I say probably 95% of my clients don't live in Kansas City, so we're closing loans all over the United States, wherever you guys need the mobile notary to hit. So this is just kind of the process on how fast and quick and how easy it is to kind of just follow a system, get it done. And when you're about a week out from closing, we turn you on to property management. We get your management agreements in place. We set up your portal. We make sure you kind of get your first month's payment of ACH. And then once you're getting your payments, it's kind of on autopilot, until we maybe run into an issue with a maintenance or some sort of eviction or something that has to happen, a tenant move out. But we're
Pat, can I
ahead.
grab another property tax question real quickly?
Yeah.
What's the property tax rate, and is it a different number for non-owner occupied versus owner occupied?
No, I'd say if a rule of thumb, I'd use maybe a point to maybe a point and a quarter. So, $150,000 house, you'd probably be at about $1,500 to $1,700. That's kind of what, like, real easy in my head if I don't know what the tax is, that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head. If I'm doing a $150,000 house and I need to underwrite something real quick, I'm using a $1,800 tax, worst case scenario.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Carrie, do you want to pull up a couple properties, or Lisa, or I know we had a little issue with who's controlling the screen, but do we have a couple properties handy? I know Pat sent out 4 properties yesterday. I threw the pictures in my email for you guys, and I think we have performance up on our website for all 4 of those now. Overall, real estate started to slow down a little bit as the rates ticked up, over the summer. And I would say in Kansas City, it's picking up again. So sometimes we can't get these on our website before they're sold. But I think we've got a couple here.
Sure.
Yeah, so I do.
So I uploaded 4 today from Pat's email blast. So here's one of them. Just keep in mind again that our performance are way more conservative. We are assuming for a higher maintenance, higher vacancy, So just keep that in mind. So Pat, did you want to break this down?
Yeah, so on this property, we have so this is a 210 purchase price, and it looks like the cash flow on this pro forma is, let me get down there.
It's right here.
Yeah, is that 78 or negative?
Yeah, so it's 78, but again, we were talking about Pat's mortgage company, how you can get a better deal that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, the rate, the rate you can buy down, if people are used to paying 2 points or they want to pay 2 points, where they might pay 2 points and get 6 1/4, with me, they might pay 2 points and get 5 1/2. You know, so that'll make a difference when you start plugging in these numbers, and then you start. I think Jason only uses a 6% appreciation or a 5% appreciation. So when you start putting in your appreciation numbers, your depreciation, your vacancy rate, your maintenance, if the properties are a certain age, you have to use a certain number with in this property tracker. That's not too accurate for us either. So there's a few things that are a little bit different. All the properties, if you look at my performance, all the properties will be cash flowing about, I'd say around $150. Is where it kind of, it's a little bit different than the property tracker. And I don't ever want to, I mean, I love systems and processes. So and all the areas that I'm buying in are going to be, you know, I own property in all these areas. Like I own multiple properties in the same areas. So you know, I'm not deviating. I'm not doing anything different than I would for you know, for my investors. And so it's.
And Lisa, you can't really see it very well because the Jason Hartman Empowered logo is kind of covering the assumptions. Oh, there you go. So, you know, we're using a vacancy rate of 8% here. So if you look on the left-hand side, that factors in $88 a month. So again, you're gonna have $88 more a month in cash flow with this assumption. You know, the maintenance, you don't pay that monthly. You're not paying that into an account per se. But when you have an item come up to, you know, for maintenance, you're gonna pay the whole thing, basically. So we're accounting for, vacancy. So we're accounting for 88 a month in vacancy, and we're accounting for another 88 a month in maintenance. And, you know, those numbers will factor back into your monthly cash flow. We don't know what your vacancy rate is. We don't know what your maintenance. We err on the conservative side.
Yeah.
So, you know, Pat may be performing at, you know, a better vacancy and maintenance rate overall in his portfolio. We just use those higher numbers across the board because, you know, we're in several different markets. So we couldn't possibly know what each individual management company or market is running at. So we use kind of a broad spectrum.
And I think it's good.
If you want to go to Pat's website, you can kind of get a little more dialed in on these numbers. And you can also play around with the mortgage assumption. You know, you can put less money down and be break even on paper, or you can put more money down and have better cash flow. A lot of our clients will pay cash. So, you know, there's different ways to structure your debt. And if at some point the rates come down, then you can refinance. The property values go up at some point, you could pull cash out. So, you know, this is kind of your day one, what it looks like today in the higher interest rate environment. But it's not your forever deal. Many of you who have been with us for years and years know that you're going to restructure your debt and your properties over time. You're going to raise your rents. You know, so this is just kind of a snapshot of what it looks like from day one.
That's a good point.
The other thing is, Pat mentioned that he's seeing a 5% rent increase. So this is so next year your deal is going to look better. It's probably going to be more than 5% from 2022 to 2023 to 2024. The other thing is, at this price point, we really don't have anything in this good of a neighborhood. we can find 150 in other markets. I know some people are looking at St. Louis, some people are looking at Detroit, but I don't think it's going to be as good as this. Is going to be what, like an A minus, B plus neighborhood?
Yeah, I think everything I mean, like the C neighborhood that I go into would be like maybe like a heavily Hispanic populated area that I started in back in the day, and I still do some stuff there. But I'm more in your A, B type neighborhoods, and like like the median home price in Kansas City for a homeowner is, I'd say, around 300,000, and so. The homes I'm selling is, 150 is like the lower side, but right around 200 grand, 250 in that price point. You got a lot of homeowners in the neighborhood. I do like the fact that you have a place where you can compare apples with apples. So if you're looking at another city, everybody's using the same formula, everybody's using the same number. So that's good that Jason sets it up for you guys like that. And you guys have like a place where you can compare apples with apples, but sometimes diving in to a city and kind of getting your numbers a little more dialed in would be beneficial. So you guys can. My website is pat@patgrace.com. No, that's my email. Sorry, patgrace.com is my website. Pat@patgrace.com is my email.
We'll follow up as investment counselors, send over the information, these performas, and Pat's contact information, and we'll get all that squared away to you right after this webinar.
Yep, perfect.
Awesome, well, thanks everyone.
That sounds good. Is there any other questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Are there any other questions? Did I miss anything?
There was one more question about the management providing marketing and leasing, and Elisa, the answer is yes. So part of property management is they take care of the leasing for you. So
we'll handle all
advertise
that
through various channels like Zillow, and usually it syndicates to multiple websites.
And we pay for like the premium stuff for like Zillow. We pay for rent.com. There's a lot of things you can do for free, kind of like LoopNet, and then you don't get nowhere with it. And then once you pay, all of a sudden you're at the top and at the front. So all the paid stuff, we pay for all that up front. For all of our, I just pay it for my company. But that way, once again, the person who has one property, who probably wouldn't pay because it doesn't make sense, can take advantage of that marketing, and through our company, you guys get it for free. It's in our software, it's in AppFolio. So once I hit for rent in AppFolio, that thing goes to like 100 different sites, and we're renting the homes within 2 weeks, really fast. Like within a month, I'm renting these houses. So I think our average day was 32 days on a turn. So my software doesn't know. All my software knows is the day the tenant moves out and the day a new tenant moves in, and that the average was 32 days. I just checked that the other day. I had to answer a question for somebody. So I think that's really good. Like you're down, you're not operational. Vacancy is kryptonite for an investor, and so the least amount of days you're out of pocket. So for us it was about 32 days from when the tenant moved out to a new tenant moved in. So
Perfect.
yeah, I appreciate
Awesome.
you guys.
Well,
Thank you guys.
I think that squared it all away, huh?
Yep. You guys have any questions, just email me, let me know. I'm here for you guys. I can jump on calls. I can do whatever you guys need me to do. I appreciate you guys giving me the time.
All right. Well, thank you, Pat, for joining us. Thank you, everyone. We'll all be in touch, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks
All right.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.